Good afternoon and welcome to the Virginia SBDC's webinar series, Google and Beyond, Marketing and Managing on the Web. This series is designed to take a look at tools and techniques to help small businesses take their business to the next level. Today's webinar is Keep Up to Date on Your Business Using Web-Based Alerts. All of our Google and Beyond webinars are presented by Ray Sidney Smith, web and mobile strategist, author of So Low Mo Success, Social Media, Local and Web-Based Marketing Strategies Explained, and president of W3 Consulting, a digital business strategy and training firm. If you have any questions during the presentation, please tape those out into the question window and Ray will do his best to answer them. Without further ado, here's Ray Sidney Smith.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you to the Virginia SBDC for having me here on the Beyond Google Marketing and Managing on the Web series. As Tracy said, we'll be talking about keeping up to date on your business using web-based alerts, and as Tracy talked about some of the housekeeping items, if you have questions, feel free to ask those now. That's what we're here for. We're here to answer your questions, so go ahead and use that question panel. However, if you miss a question or you have a question later after the webinar, feel free to go ahead and send those at W3 Consulting by Twitter or otherwise, and hashtag that Beyond Google, and I'll be happy to answer those questions for you. Also, feel free to follow at Virginia SBDC. They're on Twitter, and they'll be posting notifications about future webinars and other educational materials for small business, so go ahead and follow them out there as well. So let's get right into the agenda for today. Today we're going to be talking about why and what to stay informed when it relates to your business on the web. There's lots of information out there that's happening. You know, there's billions of web pages now, literally, that are being indexed by the major search engines, and we want to make sure that we're paying attention to what's happening out there on the web as it relates to our business. So it's really important for us to do that, so I'll talk about why and what. Second is how to keep up to date on Google. Google is producing lots of different pieces of information in disparate locations, and we want to be able to go ahead and track those. So we're going to talk about how to do that using some of these tools. In addition, we're going to talk about monitoring specific web pages. So when a web page changes, why you would want to be able to follow something like that, and then of course be able to do it using some of the tools that are out there. I'm going to talk about one specific tool that's pretty fantastic at it. And finally, we're going to talk about how to manage all that monitoring. So once you have access to all of this data and it's being tracked, how do you pull it all together so that you can pay attention to it in one fell swoop, or at least as few fell swoops as possible? So that's going to be the agenda for today. And so let's segue right into why and what you want to stay informed about. Let's start out with why. Why do you want to stay informed about your business? Well, it may seem very obvious to some, but to others it may not. So let's just talk about it a little. First and foremost, your business is putting out all kinds of information on the web today, and quite honestly, you don't control very much of it if you're not taking a lead in publishing content. So, and if you have taken the lead in publishing content, it sometimes takes some time before that information is sort of buried, so to speak. You know, think about it from this perspective. If there's information out there on the web about you, and you'd like something else about it. It may not even be bad, it just may be blah. But you want something better about your business on the web, you have to start publishing new content consistently for quite some time before it starts to drive that content to the top of the search engine results page, the SERPs as I've called it in past webinars. So the SERPs, the search engine results pages, those need to be populated over time for keywords. The keyword or the key phrase here is the name of your business, or your name, or other kinds of social profile names or usernames for your business. And so you want to make sure that that new rich content here is being put into Google and Bing and Yahoo and Ask.com and AOL, and so that it's pushing that content to the top over time, right? Well, that doesn't happen overnight, and so in the interim, you need to really pay attention to what's out there already, so that you can use traditional methods, whether that be email or other traditional marketing avenues, to be able to overcome the public relations issues that might be related to that. It might be outdated or stale information. It might be negative comments about your business on the web. It may be any number of things, but you really need to be informed in order to be enabled and engaged with the process of being able to correct that. Okay? So we want to make sure that we know what's out there, so that we are at least informed to know what's out there, and then only through being informed can we actually overwrite what's out there, and or what's out there is really great, and we want to be able to bolster that. And by being able to push more new stuff to that page, enhancing the pages that are already doing well, we can really make affect on the information that's being framed around our business. Okay, so that's one. Next up, we want to really talk about what you want to actually track. So ignore the title up there; that's incorrect. But the pieces that you want to go ahead and pay attention to are you. You represent your business, and in so many ways, you want to make sure that you are paying attention to what's being said about you in and on the web. So if Google is saying something positive or negative about you, there are consequences to your business. And so if you have some hobby or some other types of interests that are out there, when someone Googles you and that's what they see, that's perfectly fine. But if there's stuff that's actually impacting your business in and intertwined with that information, then you want to know about that. Say that you have had a family issue that's occurred that frequently happens, and people post things online and don't realize it, and lo and behold, it's now published on the web, and it shows intermixed with your personal interests and now these open family issues as well as your business, and you really need to be able to clean that up. That might be as easy as just correcting and overwriting the content that's published so that over time Google publishes a new page that's out there, but you really need to pay attention to how your name is being used on the web because it's so connected to your business. People see you as a representative of the business. You're a public figure in that way. Okay? Next up is your company name. And any profile names that you use. We call these handles or usernames or social profile names, whatever you want to call it, but they're the public moniker that's being used as it relates to your name. In addition, it'd be your company name, that would be the lay name or a DBA, doing business as name, or your actual legal entity name. So in my case, W3 Consulting Inc., which is our legal name, W3 Consulting, and other kinds of subsidiary items that we have. We have the DBA W3 Consulting, and we have other user profiles. Typically, you'll find us as at W3 Consulting or W3 Consulting without a space online. That's important for me to search just as much as my name, W3 Consulting, and looking for competitors or people who might be using my company name inappropriately, trying to pretend to be us. So we want to make sure that we pay attention to that. So company name and any profile names that you might have. You might have multiple profile names because you have different accounts that may not have had a username available to you. So for example, on Facebook, we're not W3 Consulting, but we're W3 Consulting INC, period. So we have to make aware of the fact that we're W3C Inc. on Facebook, but on Twitter we're W3 Consulting. So we want to pay attention to all those various conjugations of our profile names that are out there. Okay. Next up is the same things for your competition. You want to pay attention to your competition. What are they doing? And how can you flatter them? That is, copy what they're doing when it works well for your business. And what can you do differently than them? How can you differentiate from your competition, or you already do? And seeing them do maybe the same thing over and over again may show success or failure of their strategy, but that's really important for you to pay attention to. So you really want to know what's going on with your competition out there, and you want to know what's being said about them, their names, and their key representatives, their key personnel within their business. Okay? Finally, industry news. There's lots of stuff going on in your industry, I'm sure, and those continual updates need to be kept track of, and you want to be able to pay attention to what's going on in that environment. Next up, you want to pay attention to your best customers. What are your best customers up to? If you learn that your best customer is doing something that uniquely matches a service or product of your business, well, that's great. Now you're able to go ahead and make affect into that, make progress into that particular area of the business, and potentially increase that best customer satisfaction, help engage the customer to know how they can go ahead and promote you more, help them help you in the sense of making sure that if you find out that they're really active on Twitter or they're really active on Google+, well, start putting content there and letting them know that so that they can share that content in the social world that they're most comfortable with, the social platform in which they're most comfortable with. Many times we try to push social content into places that where there's nobody. You know, you don't go to a cocktail party where nobody's at. You know, you don't want to go to an empty room. You want to go to a party that has a lot of people at it, and a lot of people who probably like you. So why not go to where your customers are, where they already like you, and they're likely to introduce you to other people that they know will like you as well. Okay, so that's why you really want to stay informed of what your best customers are doing. That's not all your customers. You know, you don't need to have hundreds of names and usernames, but just pay attention to the best of, and I'll show you actually some really cool tools that can help you do that. And finally, your employees, vendors, and contractors, those people who are supporting your business in different ways, it's really important for you to pay attention to what your employees are doing and saying out there. This is not to be invasive, you know, in their own personal privacy, but if your employees are saying things about your business, or if they're publicly representing your business in some way, shape, or form that is hurting your business, you really want to know that. As well with your vendors and contractors. If your vendors and contractors have exclusivity arrangements with you, or they are helping to promote your business and they're doing so poorly, then you want to know about that as well. And if they're doing really well at it, say you find out one of your employees is just talking your business up like there's no tomorrow. That's great. You want to pay attention to that, and you really want to foster that. Thank them. Show recognition for their support and efforts, and be able to enable study really what they're doing so that you can enable other employees to do the same thing. Because why is this employee, this vendor, this contractor really talking up your business? What's intrinsically or extrinsically motivating them to do that? If you can find that out, that can be really powerful in terms of being able to unlock the potential within others to do the same thing for your business. So with those 6 sort of things couched, these are the reasons why and what particular items you really want to be paying attention to. So we're going to talk about in the next couple of, the rest of this webinar about the tools really necessary to help monitor and track these particular pieces of information, and how to do that in a little bit more of a streamlined fashion. So I'm going to show you 3 or 4 different tools, and those particular tools will cover really how to do all of these things. So I'm going to start off with going into the first tool, which is called Social Mention, okay? And Social Mention, forgive me a moment, I'm just going to go into full screen here. All right, so Social Mention, you go to socialmention.com. So what Social Mention is, and it's a little bit of a quirky tool. A lot of people love Social Mention, and I really like the product and I recommend it. But understand that it can be a little bit quirky. So don't get too flummoxed if for some reason you're not getting the right data out the gate and those kinds of things. Just be patient with the tool and you'll be pretty good with it. So Social Mention is a little bit different than Google. So if you go to Google, it sort of has a similar page, except it doesn't have this big advertisement on the page, but they have to pay the bills. And so if you go to socialmention.com, as it says, it's real-time social media search and analysis. So whereas Google is actually blocked by the major search engines from being able to go in and search Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn within private social networks, what Social Mention does is it looks at all of the public posts that are within Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn and so on and so forth, YouTube, and actually is able to search those particular networks for you. They do that through a very sophisticated means so that they're not breaking the terms of service and as well as the block terms within it. So they're only looking at public posts. They're doing it in a very sophisticated manner. Anyway, that means it takes a little bit more energy on the part of the server to be able to do that, but it does it. And so we could do a couple of really cool things with regard to Social Mention. So one thing I can do is I can type in my username. This is my Twitter handle for W3 Consulting, and I can choose microblogs, which for all intents and purposes is pretty much Twitter. And so I've already done this for tier just because it takes a little bit of time. And you can see here what Social Mention does is it tracks a whole host of pieces of information when it does a search like this. Okay, so as I said, it would have taken about 30 or 40 seconds, maybe up to a minute, for it to have done the search that's showing on your screen right now. And that's because it's got to go into Twitter, it's got to look at all of these various pieces of information, call them together, and then put together an analysis. But what it's done for me here on Twitter is that it's provided up on the top left-hand corner. You can see these little gray boxes. Okay, so it shows here Strength, it says strength is the likelihood that your brand is being discussed in social media. So the higher the score, the better. It looks for this based on the number of phrases within a past 24-hour, in the past 24 hours over a total possible number of mentions. So it just makes the calculation, and it shows the 18% strength. The reason for mine being 18% is because I involve myself in a lot of tweet chats, which are hour-long Twitter discussions, and so when I'm not in a tweet chat the prior day, the following day, my strength drops. So if I were in a tweet chat every day, I'd probably be up in the 90s, right? But I don't have time every day to be in a tweet chat, so I'm going to have a little bit lower of a strength score. That being the case, I fully understand that, and I'm comfortable with that because those tweet chats are very productive uses of my time in marketing my business. So I like being in those, and so I don't mind the lower strength score. The next item is sentiment. You can see that it basically takes the number of mentions, and it shows whether or not they're positive or negative. You can see that we have a 12 to 0 sentiment ratio, which means that we've had nothing but positive sentiment on Twitter, okay, which is great. Next up is passion. It shows the amount of passion, so to speak, and passion, it says, is the likelihood that individuals talking about your brand will do so repeatedly, meaning that people will over and over again talk about W3 Consulting on Twitter. So sometimes that goes up to 28 to 30%, so it just ranges. At this moment, it was 15%. 54% is reach, and that's just a measure of influence, meaning that every time I go ahead and someone authors something, it basically is, as it says here, it's the number of unique authors referencing W3 Consulting divided by the total number of mentions. Okay, so it just basically says how many people are actually writing about me and how many mentions are there. That means that it's 54%. So you could tell the reach of your particular social use in this particular environment. Very, very powerful stuff. It tells me that there's an average 45 minutes per mention, so every 45 minutes someone's talking about W3 Consulting. The last mention was about an hour ago. And you can actually see it, someone talking about the Harvard Business Review Rogue Chat, the HPR Rogue Chat, and so someone mentioned me about an hour ago. Next up, it tells me there's 27 unique people talking about me, so 27 people have been tweeting about me in the last 24 hours. Again, this is tracking within the last 24 hours, right? And then there have been 16 retweets in the last 24 hours. So you can see the information that's being published out here, really key in being able to pay attention to what you're doing out there. So very, very interesting information. Next down is you can see all of the positive, neutral, and negative content that's out there. Google and Twitter and all the other social networks use usually smiley faces, sad faces, and other kinds of words, whether they're words that might connote a negative sentiment like bad or uncomfortable or whatever, with those of positive and neutral, terms. So it uses all of that to really decide on sentiment, and you can see there's about 32 tweets out there that indicated any level of sentiment, and those were neutral or positive, so that's good. Next up are keywords. You can see the various keywords that show up for your business. In Twitter, it's a little bit different because it looks at hashtags and other kinds of things. So you can see here this is a little bit skewed because it's looking at my own Twitter profile name and the HBR Rogue Chat itself's hashtag, so it's a little bit skewed. So that may not be so useful in this particular Twitter search, but it helps when you're looking at the overall scope if you're doing a much larger search. Next up, this is really cool. So as I was talking about before, you want to pay attention to some of your best customers, and that includes some of your best brand advocates, the people who are really talking about you quite often on social media. Well, in this particular case, you can see here that these top users, the top users are authors who frequently mention you for that particular search phrase. So in this particular case, it's your name, and so if they're mentioning you quite often, then they're the ones that you want to really pay attention to. Now, they might be saying good or bad things, but either way, you need to start paying attention to what they're saying. But these top 10 people are people that you want to know. Okay, so on a regular basis, if you're looking at this information, you can say, oh, you know what? This person is mentioning me so many times. Joy over BizWorks, she's mentioning me a lot, and so I'm going to reciprocate that. I'm going to give her some love, and that's going to be great. That's going to be simpatico for our our businesses, our relationship as well. Okay, so that's what you do there. So you can pay attention to who the important people are who are mentioning you on Twitter by virtue of following this top users area on social mention. Okay, next up are hashtags, and these are just, of course, the hashtags that you're using out there. As you can see, ProdChat is the weekly Twitter conversation I have about productivity, so you can see why those two hashtags are there. I frequently am in HBR Rogue chat, so that chat hashtag is going to be in the top percentile for me as well. And you can see some other ones, small business entrepreneur and so on and so forth. Okay, so those are there as well. You can see down here the sources from which you're getting these messages and this sort of sentiment analysis. And you can see here that I did a search specifically on Twitter, so of course it's gonna show me those. You can filter by clicking on any one of these items in the left-hand side panel. It will go ahead and filter to that specific item. Okay, so you can actually see if I clicked on top users, for instance, it's going to go across, and if it actually did it correctly, it would have actually shown only the messages that were from Joy. But don't worry about that. So when you're in the panel here, when you've done a search already, they're up here just like Google. There's socialmention.com/advanced_search, and if I just click on advanced search, it's going to give me something very similar to the advanced search screen that Google provides you within Google search. Okay, and so within the Google advanced search, you are going to be able to do a couple of really great things. One, you're going to be able to use very similar advanced search criteria for limiting your search to exactly what you want. So for the example that I gave before, where I just did the search of my Twitter handle for W3 Consulting, I just basically typed in W3 Consulting because that's the exact word that I want in my phrasing. Maybe I didn't want anything that was about consortium because there's W3 Consulting is not the consortium, the World Wide Web Consortium, hence why it's W3 World Wide Web Consortium, and that's an organization that dictates all kinds of standards for the web. I'm not them, and so I want to make sure that I don't get stuff about them. And I want to look at all sorts of individual sources or other sources. So I might say, oh, look, I want to look for any audio that might be related to W3 Consulting. In that case, I might list my blog, my podcast. So I'll go ahead and put in W3 and Beyond audio, and I could choose based on location, particular time frame, so anytime, last hour, 12 hours, day, week, or month. And then I can choose the number of results on the page. You can go 10 to 100. Language, if you want to pick a specific language, we could pick English here, and we can sort based on the date or source. You can also go ahead and limit based on a user. So you can say, I don't want these particular users to be shown, if you know the user's name here. You click on Advanced Search, and you can see that it goes ahead and culls the web for information. And as I said before, you can see it showing some kooky web language here, but the same thing. It's just the system sometimes has little hiccups. It'll do its job, and it will go through and do that particular search. I don't know. It might take a while for this to actually happen. So I'm not going to let it finish. But the point is that you can go through this advanced search and sort of play around with it. It's there. It's a good tool. And oh, I didn't really want to do that. Let's. I'm going to redo this search. Hopefully, it doesn't take as much time as the last time. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's on the screen. So here on the right-hand side panel, so say I had my Twitter search still up there. On the left-hand side, on the right-hand side panel, you'll see these gray boxes, and these gray boxes allow you to be able to get this data out of Social Mention and into other things. So you can subscribe to an RSS feed specific to this particular search, and it won't do it if I don't do this. So I'm gonna redo the search. Let's see if I can do it really quickly. Microblogs. Since it already did the search, it should still be pretty relevant here. Whoops. There we go. Okay, great. So we can see here that the mentions are here. I'm back at my Twitter search that I had done earlier, and on the right-hand side panel here, there's an RSS feed. So if I click on the RSS feed, it's going to pop up the RSS feed, and this is a feed that I can then subscribe to in an RSS feed reader. The next one is the email alerts. If you click on the email alerts, you're going to get this message. I have never not gotten this message, but it basically says the alerts are currently disabled. I think the whole platform just has too much happening on it at any given time, and they can't support it. They need more servers. So you're not going to be able to get email alerts. My personal thing is that I don't want to get more email, so I tend to shy away from these email alerts anyway. So I tend to go with the RSS feed, and I'll show you a little bit about that later. You can export all of this data in Excel, and you can do that by exporting a CSV file, which can be read by Excel, and the same thing with regard to all of the other data. So you can export sentiment, top keywords, top users, and top hashtags. So if you're trying to do this for a larger swath of data, you would have this page render the larger. When it said how many results to show, I chose 10. You could choose up to 100. You'd probably want to choose that 100 if you're going to be crunching data in Excel. So you would go ahead and use the larger amount from the advanced search to be able to produce larger amounts of data. But you can decide. You can decide on what data you want to produce, and then this goes ahead and helps you download that data into a CSV file, .csv. You can pull that into Excel or into any other program that you know of, if your CRM software does it and is capable of looking at that data. You can go ahead and look at that and see what's going on with your data. So really cool stuff there. All right, next up we're going to talk about so that's really, you can, as I said before, you want to be able to do this search for not only the name of your business, to make sure you're paying attention to that, to your user handles, your competition, and you might want to actually type in particular words that your industry is using. So, and if you're tracking social media like I am, the word social media is probably not a very good term to search, but because everybody's talking about it, you could use other terms. You could also limit it. So I could say I want everything about social media, but I want it to definitely have the word Pinterest in it, okay? Or I really want it to have Instagram. And by making sure that I put very similar, this is exactly like Google, if I put something in quotation marks, then it has to be in the actual words that it's searching, okay, inside the post that it's searching. So we'll look for all things that are referencing social media that say Instagram. Or maybe I just want to look for things about Instagram, and so that will do a specific search about Instagram on Twitter. Okay, so we can really specify what we're looking for, but across those 6 categories that I talked about before, we want to be able to use that here. Okay, so I just used the example of searching for my business name because that's really the first step. The next step is using a classic tool, which is Google Alerts. So Google Alerts is a product by Google. You just go to google.com/alerts, and you log into your Google account, okay, which could be a Gmail account or a business account where you have a Google account registered with it. And this is the screen you get when you log into it. So I've never used this account before because I really haven't had a need to, and because I have it all tracked in another account. But this is a brand new account as far as Google's concerned. I've logged into it, and the first thing I see is a search screen, a search field at the top of this page. And the search field at the top of the page says, monitor the web for interesting content. Well, the interesting content is all about my business, right? And so I want to make sure that I'm paying attention to all the things about my business. And you can search each of those different 6 categories and the various, combinations of the 6 categories using Google Alerts. So Google Alerts does something very similar to social mentions, except it does it by searching Google, okay? So it's looking across Google to see what's happening on the web, and then culling all of that information together to be able to do it. So let me show you a little bit about that. And first I want to show you the sort of quick and easy version that Google has sort of created with the newest, the most current version. So you can see that I have no alerts currently because it doesn't show them, but once I do create one, it'll be up here. Down here it says me on the web. And this is really cool because if I want to pay attention to what's happening about me on the web, and I do, it gives me a really quick and easy way to do that. Here, it says, oh, if you want to search for Ray Sidney Smith, which is my name, just click on +sign. Perfect. Done. It's now searching for whenever my name shows up. 2, it's going to look for my email address. This is the account that I'm in within Google Apps. And so I can click on that as well, and it's going to search for that Google account as well. So anytime that's mentioned out there on the web, this is going to go ahead and alert me. Now, when I click on the pencil sign, it gives me the option to edit, where I can look at some options. Then I can also delete this at any time. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. But I'm curious about this one that says Ray Sidney Smith, and it's searching Google for any time my name appears. When I click on the edit button, right there at the top, it shows me the ability to go ahead and or organize and filter which particular searches appear for me. First and foremost, it's trying to deliver the messages by email. Again, if you want to have them delivered to you by email, go for it. I just don't want any more email, so I say no. I click on RSS feed, and that way, when I am done with the updating to this alert, it'll give me a feed in which I can subscribe to. So I can do that as well. But if you do receive email, this first option, how often, will not be grayed out, and it gives you the option to go ahead and email you basically as it happens, once a day or once a week. Okay, so once a week is probably all I would have for my name being put out there. And it will say, okay, once a week we're going to email you whenever your name appears on Google, okay, newly appears on Google. You could choose which sources, so say I only want things that are related to my book, right? So whenever someone mentions me in and about my book, because I would be in the books section, and the only reason I would be in the book section is because someone would be referencing me as an author, I suppose. And so if someone mentions my name and related to Salomo's success, then the books search will go ahead and trigger a list, and I'll get that at the end of the week. Okay, so I can choose language, obviously a region, so I can pick United States if I wanted to, and that way it limits only for searches for what people are saying in the United States. And I can say only the best results or all results. Okay, and what it does down here is it shows, because my book isn't actually registered in Google Books, it's showing no queries. So that makes a lot of sense. If I said automatic, then you can see here that for Ray Sidney Smith, it's showing me what would be similarly showing up. So for my personal name, you can see here that I blog a lot about productivity, and you can see all the various cognitive neuroscience and other kinds of productivity blogs that I've got out there. You can see that this is a past webinar that I've done here for Beyond Google Marketing and Managing on the Web series. So you can see all the various stuff that would show up in a particular search for me. That's on blogs. This is on the web, so you can see my Twitter handle and my personal website and my business website, LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah. And then you can go further down and you can see what happens on Google News and all that fun stuff. So you can see everything about me by doing that kind of search, and now it can just show up in my inbox once a week. Okay? If it's an RSS feed, like I said, I'm going to click on Update, and now this Ray Sidney Smith quoted alert is now giving me an RSS feed link right here next to the pencil sign. Okay? So now I have an alert feed that I can subscribe to in my RSS feed reader. Now, again, like I said, if you don't know what an RSS feed reader is or an RSS feed is, I'll explain that once we get to that portion later in the webinar. So, but now I've got it triggered. All right. Now, say I want to be able to also pay attention to W3 Consulting. So I want to pay attention to what people are saying about W3 Consulting here, and I also want to know. So I'm using, again, Google's advanced search terminology here. I'm using Google's ability to look for things in a way that helps it find exactly what I'm doing. So I'm looking for anytime W3 Consulting, the name of our DBA, or W3 Consulting, our Twitter or other social handle shows up, or when someone uses our legal name. Okay, here. So I've, again, in quotes, I've just put the specific things and then or. And it doesn't have to be capitalized, but I tend to use it just so that I can see what it says. But basically, anytime those three specific terms show up on Google, I want it to tell me what's going on. Okay? And now, of course, I have a Show Options button. That's going to give me the options to be able to do this. And again, I can choose to do it by email, but I'm going to choose RSS feed, and I want it to look across various different areas. So I'm going to choose automatic, which pretty much means across all of the 6 areas that Google searches. English region is going to be United States, because that's really all I care about, and only the best results. Okay? And now, again, it's going to show me a preview of what it's showing. There's various blog entries that I've written, other webinars that I've archived, and other kinds of information that are out here. So, I see some tweets and I see some other pieces of information that have been commented on other blogs. So really cool stuff out here that will show up and let me know what's being said about the company when that happens. I can go ahead and create the alert, and there it is, now my company. You can do this for your name, combinations of your name, combinations of your business name, so you don't have to have a dozen different searches just for your business name. It just needs to be this one search, but with the different combinations of it, so that you're able to make sure that you have all the various combinations where your name would appear, combinations of your employees' names or contractors. So say you have one alert and you say, Joe Smith or Jane Doe or, Sally Jones or X, and that's your vendor search, okay? And now you create the RSS feed that whenever they show up, and let me do it for you. Let me show you. So say Sally Jones or John Doe or, what did I say, Jane Smith, right? And W3 Consulting. Okay, now let's just show nothing, right? But the point is now anytime my 3 vendors or my 3 employees or my 3 contractors talk about W3 Consulting, basically their names show up together. And remember, I've included their names. I could also, say her name, her user profile, Sally's user profile is Sally, J33, or John D 44, or Jane J Smith 55. Okay, so now what I've done is I've included their names, as they generally have them on the web, or whenever they use their user profiles, maybe these are their primary user profiles, and they reference W3 Consulting. Okay, I create that alert. Now whenever they say anything about W3 Consulting, that is, whenever Google sees their names or user profiles and W3 Consulting mentioned, that triggers an email to me that tells me that they've said something. Really cool, right? All right, so we can, of course, again, go in here and click Edit, make that an RSS feed, and voila. Now I have 3 RSS feeds ready to go to be able to help track that information, and whenever I want to, I can just go check it out and see what's being said. Okay. Next up, I'm going to show you another tool that's not Google, but it's called TalkWalker. This is just an alternative to Google Alerts. I'm telling you because Google has an ability to really turn off any product at any time, right? I mean, if they don't like a particular product, they're going to get rid of it, especially if it's not serving their needs. Google Alerts is free, and so that's just the nature of it. While I don't think Google Alerts is going away anytime soon, you do want to have a backup, and TalkWalker Alerts is one of those. So if you go to talkwalker.com/alerts, and you can see it up here, TalkWalker, TalkWalker.com/alerts. So it's not talkwalker.com. TalkWalker.com is a different service slightly. TalkWalker.com/alerts is the free tool that they use. And again, it's almost identical to the Google Alerts system. It's just an alternative. So if you're nervous about your Google Alerts for some reason, or Google Alerts shutting down, you could also test out TalkWalker and see how it works. Okay? So you just go ahead and create alerts using that, and you're good to go. All right? And so I'll show you. So again, we just do W3 Consulting, or W3 Consulting, or W3 Consulting Inc. We can even include my name, right? I can put my full name, because why not, just in case somebody mentions me in different ways, right? And remarkably, there is a Sydney Smith and a Sydney R. Smith, and so there are different combinations, so you may want to actually do those as well. If your name for some reason has disambiguations that show up out there, you can go ahead and do that as well. Okay, I can search here. You can see that TalkWalker has a little bit more limited search. And so they search for everything news, blogs, or discussions, so they don't actually include some of the other pieces that Google has. But for the most part, you can choose among these 4 categories. This is basically across all search, and that means they're looking beyond just Google. So they're looking at a broader network of search engines, so be aware of that. and then they're looking across Google and Yahoo News and various other news, Bing News, that kind of thing, the various blogs that are out there and other discussions forums. So that would be forums and support forums and those kinds of places on Google Alerts and Yahoo forums, Yahoo groups, Google groups, that kind of thing. All right, and then we can choose languages again. I'm just going to choose English for the heck of it. And we can choose how often, once a day or once a week. You can see again, Google Alerts gives you more options, but this only gives you once a day or once a week instead of the monthly option that it gives you, or the as it happens. So you don't get the option to do it really in live search. It could choose only the best results or all results. I like to always see all results for these kinds of really granular searches, because then you're going to see what you want to see. I'm going to type in my email address just to make sure that I can get the alert, and we can click on preview. Great. So you can see here, voila, it showed my name for, of course, productivity chat that the productivity chat that I host. So clearly that Google is paying attention to what I'm doing in the productivity space, and so there it is. So it sees that in Google News, it's pulled up this particular item. So that's what I know is going to show up. All right. So there it is. And so TalkWalker Alerts is really helpful for being able to do different kinds of searches outside of the Google Alerts world. So if you're worried about that, you can use Google TalkWalker. So, and again, it produces it'll email you if you create an account using the tool, which is free. You'll also see the ability to go ahead and get these RSS feeds as well. Okay. Next up is a tool called Watch That Page. Now, Watch That Page is for, say you have a competitor's website that you want to go ahead and watch. Well, Watch That Page allows you to be able to monitor individual web pages. So, you know, if you have a blog, all you have to do is subscribe to the blog using an RSS feed reader, which I'll show you in a couple of minutes. But if you want to be able to monitor a specific static web page for when it changes, say your competitor's pricing pages or their services page, you know, if I want to pay attention to what's happening on my competitor's website, if they're launching a new product, I'm going to pay attention to their overall product page, or maybe their corporate news page or their front page to see whenever it changes. Okay, and watchthatpage.com does that for you. It'll say, hey, whenever this page changes, we're going to send you a notification. So if your competitor hasn't updated their website in many, many years, add it to Watch That Page so that it can watch, and then the moment your competitor updates their website, you'll get an email and it'll tell you so that you can go over there and check it out and see what's going on. Because knowledge is power in that way. Maybe your competitor is making a move in the market and you really want to know what they're doing. This will help you be able to do that. As well, there are sometimes you know, interesting industry websites that are out there that don't have a blog, but they post new articles on their website, or they post new PDF downloadable magazines for a membership-based website. And so they do it, but they don't have a blog, and you don't want to get the email just for one website. This allows you to be able to do that in one fell swoop all together in an aggregated way. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to register an account, because there's some things in there that might be a little bit confusing, and then we're going to register a page so we can see what's going on with regard to the product itself. So you go to watchthatpage.com, and then on the left-hand side, I clicked on it a little quickly, but here you can see there's a button called Register. So first link, click on Register. Here you go. It says Your Profile. And so here we are. It's just an easy sign-up form, and so we're going to go through the process. I'm going to go in and type in my email address. Whoops. And so type in my email address. I'm going to give myself an alias, which is our user handle, W3 Consulting. I'm going to create a password. Put in my name, country, oops, time zone, and then it gives me an advanced settings option. I'm not going to really bother with the advanced settings option. It's just going to be a typical standard account. It's free. Fine. Now, down here is really where it's important that we pay attention to what we're asking for, okay? So it says email me changes daily, weekly, or halt email updates, meaning that I can put a pause on it at any given time. But say that on Wednesdays and Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, I want it to go ahead and do those searches and let me know when there are changes. So I'm telling it I want it more than daily. I'm sorry, I want it more than weekly, but I want it less than daily. Well, you could do that by doing these types of control. It's control or command on the Mac, so control on Windows, command on the Mac, and just hold your control button down and click on the various options. Say only on Thursdays I want it, okay? Well, you can choose only on Thursdays to receive that stuff. And so then maybe weekly, I'm sorry, I flummoxed that one. Daily is just daily. When you click on weekly, it can choose to send it to you every week on Thursdays or more often in the same way that I showed you before. So just multi-selecting Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, it'll send me those on those particular days that I want. Okay? So you have to select weekly. I apologize. So you can choose every Wednesday. I'm going to get a notice from them to search to see whether or not whatever web pages I have are changing. When do I want that? When do I want that email? Maybe I want that email at 11 a.m. because that's the time when I check my email. So I go ahead and check my email, and I go ahead and do that, and now you can see that it checks for changes at 11 a.m. I added an add update time, and what that does is it gives me an option to go ahead and add an additional time for it to search for changes. So this happens when a website always puts out new changes to the website at a particular hour. So maybe they update their website at 10:30 and at 3:30 every day, or once a week, or once a month. Well, you can now have it search for that time. Now again, it only gives you the weekly option, but that's fine, because if nothing's changed, it's not going to trigger a notice to you. But so once a month on Wednesdays, if you know that they update their website at 11 a.m., that's when you go ahead and you probably do it for a little after that, say 11:30, and it'll go ahead and check for the changes. If there's a change, it'll trigger an email to you with a link to that page so that you can go visit it and check it out. Okay? It'll email you not only the changes here under email content, it gives you the option to show me the changes, or the option to only show me which pages have changed. So it literally copies and pastes into an email the changes that have happened on the page, which is what I really enjoy, or it can actually show you just a link to the page, and you can click on it and head over there. Okay? You can add keyword matching, meaning that you can say, oh, I want it to search for specific words on a whole page or each paragraph of the page for these particular search criteria. And again, these are very similar to the Google Advanced Search screen. Okay? So I'm going to turn off Google keyword matching because this is for the entire account, and I'm going to delete the additional search criteria because I don't want it searching more than one time, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Update, and now it's created the account. All right, once it's created the account, it's taken me to my dashboard page. You can see here that I'm on a watchthatpage.com/checkregister.jsp. That's its dashboard, all right? So just very, very quickly, I want to show you how to set one up. So here in the page, I can say, I want to look for something happening on XYZ page. So I'm gonna choose the Virginia SBDC homepage, okay? So I type in the web page for the virginiasbdc.org. That's going to be its home page. Notice that it's not searching for the entire website. It's an exact individual page on the internet. So it's only looking at the Virginia SBDC homepage. Or I can say here, I want it to look up the page for the webinars. So if I go to Virginia SBDC, you can see that this is the page for the webinars that are done, okay? So I'm just going to copy it over here, and I'm going to paste it in here. All right, great. So now what I have is the ability to, I've pasted in now the live webinars page, and I'm going to click on Add, all right? Great. Now what's happened is it's listed here. You can see that the virginiasbdc.org/training2 live webinars is now added here. When that page is updated, it will go ahead and trigger an email to me and let me know that it's been updated. So I could do that for competitors' websites. I could do that for my own website, for specific pages on my own website. When my staff updates something, I want to see what they're updating. I can do that on any number of different pages on the internet. Really, really powerful tool so that you can be able to do that and check it at any time, okay? So You can do that for lots of different pages. You can also add folders. This is a little bit more complicated, so I'm not going to, you can basically organize all of these items into folders, so you can have an umbrella that is, I'm watching these particular categories of things and put all those pages into it. All right? So there you go. Watch that page. Gives you a really powerful ability to search specific pages. And now finally, I want to show you the final aspect of today, which is monitoring all of this stuff together, okay, which can be really, really difficult. So I'm going to take us out of this, and I'm going to take you to this screen. And so what this is called the old reader. So about a year ago, I believe, Google sunsetted a product it called Google Reader, which was an RSS reader. So say you have 5 or 6 blogs that you go to every day, and you really enjoy reading those blogs. Some days the bloggers update with new blog posts. Some days the blogger doesn't. And so it's a hit or miss. Well, what the old reader does, what Google Reader did, was that it allowed you to be able to take all of those blogs, put them into Google Reader, and Google Reader did all the work for you. Went out there and looked for those blog entries. When there was new ones, it pulled them into the reader, and then you were able to go ahead and watch, be able to consume that content, whether they be blog posts or video posts or whatever. Well, Google got rid of it and left an opening in the market, and now there's a couple of competitors. I really like Feedly and the old reader. I'm going to show you the old reader because it's pretty much a duplicate. It's a clone of Google Reader, and so it's really simple and easy to use. It's free, and it's a pretty good tool. All right, so I have signed up using my Google Apps for Work account. You could just register and use whatever you'd like. I don't recommend anybody to really use the Facebook sign up, but you can if you want to. But you can go ahead and register however you'd like to. Either Facebook, Google, the Google Plus Connect, which for us is my Google Apps for Work account, and then of course directly with a Google Reader account. So you can click on Register, create a native account just with your email, name, and password, and it won't be connected to any social account. I've done that already with my Google account here, so I'm going to just do that for this. So you can see that it logs me in once I've connected it with my Google Reader account. I'm in here, and now I can subscribe to blogs. In this case, I'm going to subscribe to the RSS feeds that I created in Google Alerts. See these 3 that I created earlier and we talked about? I'm just going to copy the link, right? I'm right-clicking on it and copying the link. I happen to be in Chrome, but this allows you to do this in every browser. It'll be different words, but it gives you the ability to copy the hyperlink or the web address. I'm going to go over to Old Reader, and I'm going to go ahead and paste in this long, complicated Google Alerts string, right? So it gives me this really long URI, and I'm going to click on the Old Reader button. It's going to look at it, verify that it is an actual RSS feed, and voila, it posts it in here. Now that I'm in here, I have the ability to go ahead and see this. Whenever it posts, it's going to show me only the unread items. Sorry, highlighted that. You can see here, show unread only. So this little button means that I'm only going to see new posts. I can click refresh whenever I want to. It'll pull that string, and now I'm going to add the other 2. So just bear with me while I add the other 2. Again, add a subscription, paste that in there, add the feed, and voila. Now that one's been added, and I'm going to do the final one, which is just my name. Copy that link. I'm going to hop over here, add subscription. Now I've added 3 here. You could add dozens. If you can have up to 100 within the free account, and then they'd all be in there. So I'm going to click here. You have the home page. If there were anything new, you would see that there would be an unread count, and you would see them here. But let's just click on the all items list, and you can see that there's nothing in here. All right. Now what would happen is once those alerts actually do start to pull items in, you'll see them all listed here all together. Okay. So each new entry will be listed right in here Every search will just be pulled right into one dashboard, and all you have to do is check it once a day, once a week, whenever you want to, but the data is now in here and you don't have to do anything about it. A couple of really cool things is that you're able to manage all of this. You can share it with other people. You can bookmark things to read later, so you can quickly go through this item, search, check off the items as bookmarked, and then there's this little tab on the left-hand side. You click on bookmarked, and you can go ahead and check them out. That does require a premium membership, which if you want to, you can. It's $3 a month, so it's certainly inexpensive, and that gives you 500 feeds to follow as opposed to the 100 limit, though you should only have 100. I mean, I don't know why you would have more than 100 feeds, but if you really had a lot of searches, you could. I don't think you need it. You probably need maybe 20 or 30, and you should be fine. But if you want the premium ability to be able to bookmark things, you can do that. What I do is I just go in and keep unread the items that I want to read, and I mark everything else as read so that it only shows the unread items, and that way I can keep the ones that I want to read later there. Okay, so if we go into the settings for Old Reader, we're taken to this page. Hold on, let's go in. Jump over to account. Account doesn't have anything really important. It's just really how to sign up for premium. But under settings, it does give you a couple of really interesting tools. One is if you are in here, you have the user interface. It shows you whether or not you want to see the posts in all posts or just unread only. And I'm going to click on choose to show unread only. I don't want to see all the posts. I only want to see the ones that I haven't read yet. I want to post the post view mode. I want to see it in list view. I don't want to see the full view because then it shows each post expanded all the way. I just want to see the titles. And then we have normal or reverse. I want to see the oldest posts first. I want to follow them in chronological order, top down. It gives me some options regarding if I click on a post, it goes ahead and scrolls to it, so it scrolls it to the top of the screen and expands it, and then show only those folders or feeds that have unread items. So I want to make sure that it only shows those as well. Click on Save. My settings are saved for me. I have a couple of options when it comes to social. It can give me the ability to share those items. So say I wanted to share one of those items by Gmail or LinkedIn or Evernote, Buffer, Tumblr, Google+, all of those services, email, Facebook, Twitter. I can go ahead and do that, save the changes, and now those are all set for me to be able to go ahead and share when I'm inside a particular post. Next up is Read Later. It actually integrates with a service called Pocket. Pocket allows you to be able to save and organize things that you'd like to read later, a web article that you'd like to read later, or a blog post somewhere, whatever you'd like to read later. You just click on the Pocket button and it goes ahead and does that. You can connect yourself to Pocket and do that in the settings as well. All right. Old Reader. Old Reader also has the ability for you to have a connection to mobile and desktop apps, and they've actually created this great page here at /pages/apps where you are able to look at the various different operating systems for those other apps and things that are out there. They have pretty much an app or something for most desktop and mobile apps, all of the major ones. So you can see here they have browser extensions and bookmarklets and Android, iOS, Windows, Mac, and so on and so forth. So really, really cool tool. You just now, instead of getting all of those emails, they're just inside of your Old Reader coming from Google Alerts or from TalkWalker or Social Mention. And you've got yourself a really, really strong monitoring system where you can collect together all of those various pieces and put them into one place for you to be able to keep up to date and informed about your business. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tracy. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those, and then we can close out.
Well, we don't have any questions so far, Ray, so I'm going to go ahead and give my closing spiel. And then if anybody has any questions before we sign out, I will go ahead and answer those. Thanks, everyone, for participating today. Today's webinar was recorded and will be posted on the Virginia SBDC website under live webinars and recordings. Tomorrow you'll be receiving a follow-up email on this webinar, and there'll be an evaluation link in the email. Please help us to continue to improve our training by taking the time to complete the evaluation. If you want to fill it out now, I did post it in the chat window, and you're welcome to do that. We will have our next and final webinar of this series for 2014 on December 11th, and we'll be doing social media predictions for 2015. So we hope that everyone will be able to join us. It does not look like we have any questions. Ray, you did a great job of covering that material. I certainly learned a lot today. So thank you very much, and we'll see you all on December 11th.
Thank you. Take care.